Today is all about basements. I work with people all the time that are relocating to Utah, either from California where there are no basements, or back east in the Midwest where maybe they do have basements, but they're quite different than what we have here in Utah, or they have no basements. So this is a question I get asked a lot, is more detail on our basements. So I'm going to show you basements and talk more about them. So stay tuned. So when I moved to Utah from San Diego over 20 years ago, I had never had a basement in my own home, being from California. So it was a really nice added feature that I have now grown to. I can't imagine not having a basement. So I want to talk about the different types of homes that you will find here in Utah and what that means for a basement or no basement and the types of basements. And I'm going to show you throughout this video some of the differences so you can see them for yourselves. So number one is walkout basements. Now that is a very desirable type of basement here in Utah. And that is because, one, with the housing shortage, there are ordinances or legislation in effect that you can now, as long as it is owner occupied, you can rent your basement out to another person, which helps you with your mortgage. And actually, now you need to speak to a qualified lender about this, but as of now, they are allowing people to use that income for rent, a portion of it, to help qualify for your mortgage. So I have heard up to 75% of your rental rate. So if you're renting your basement for $1,000, you can use $750 of that towards qualifying income for your home loan. Now, obviously, not having a walkout basement where people can come and go freely on their own without coming into the main portion of your house is why those walkout basements are desirable. And there's different types of doors and setups that you will find with walkout basements. Sometimes it's just a normal door that you would see on a house, like a front door or something. Sometimes there's sliding glass doors. Whatever it is, it just means that you have another point of access to the house besides your front door or your garage door or side door, that point of access from the basement. And then typically those walkout basement doors are going to go to your backyard or your side yard. Next is just kind of a standard basement. And, we don't really call that out as much here. It's just a basement. And what that means is great. You have the room, you can go downstairs from the main part of your house, but there is not a separate entrance to get into the basement. So if you want to get into the basement, usually it's in like your hallway of your main level and you go down to the basement. Sometimes you see them at the garage door, the mudroom area, and you just go down to the basement. You have nice big windows. You do have to have emergency egress windows now per code. And, that's a whole nother topic about being grandfathered in and the age and, all of that. However, generally speaking, for the new homes or newer homes, you have to have a large enough window to get somebody safely out of the home in the event of an emergency such as a fire. And depending even on how deep your windows are, you may have to have a ladder so that somebody could easily get out of that basement window well. And that goes for whether it's a walkout basement or a regular basement. And then there are homes with partial basements. And I actually don't have any video or photos of this type of basement because they're not super common unless you're down in an older part of Salt Lake City. You may potentially have a partial basement, and typically it's just like it sounds. It's under part of the house. Usually it's dirt under there, and quite honestly, they're very creepy to me, so I do not go in them. And that is why I don't have any pictures or videos of a partial basement. Usually it's like the old wooden stair ladder thing that you climb in, and I don't do them. So that would be a partial basement, but like I said, they're not very common. I have seen them in some newer homes in Utah County on the east side of Interstate 15, but they're not the dingy like I just described. They're kind of big. They put a layer of plastic down on the dirt, but it's not finished like a normal walkout basement or a normal basement with concrete. And then of course you have no basements or slab on grade. And there's a variety of reasons that you will have those. You may be in like a river plain, you know, like the Jordan River that goes through here. You may be too close to Utah Lake or the Great Salt Lake, so you cannot have a basement because of the water tables. But you'll also find them now, the last couple of years, they're finishing them with no basements because it's less expensive for the builder and the houses go up faster. And with the housing shortage, they were just trying to get houses pumped out for people to live in. So some of the things about having a basement, and it doesn't matter if it's a walkout basement or a normal basement, daylight basement, whatever you want to call it. There's a couple good things, and I've already talked about being able to rent it or even use it as a mother-in-law. If you have a normal basement and you have somebody in your family that lives in your basement and has their own separate space and you don't mind them coming into your home, the main part of your home, it's a great setup for that type of situation as well. Now, having an unfinished basement, sometimes people think, I'd rather have the finished space. And that's true. It is great to have the finished space, to have extra bedroom, an extra living room, a gym area, whatever you want to put in the basement depending on the size. However, I have to say unfinished basements are very nice because it allows for extra storage without taking room away from your garage area and being able to park a second car or a third car in your garage because you have all your Christmas totes in the garage when you can store them in the basement. Also, if you have children, I used to do this. It's very nice to have an unfinished basement because when the weather is bad, it's cold outside, it's wintertime, snowing, they can't go outside and they need to get some energy out. It's not a problem to let them go ride their scooters or their skateboards on the concrete in the unfinished basement or to bounce a basketball in the basement. They're not going to hurt anything in an unfinished basement with it just being concrete and no drywall, things like that. You know, it really is a personal preference how people like it, finished or unfinished. Now, with basements, it is very common to have something called a radon mitigation system. Radon is a naturally occurring gas that comes from soil and rock, things like that. I'm not a radon expert, so I'm not going to quote too much on that. But when you have high levels of radon, it can cause cancer. And so the EPA gets involved and they have levels of what is considered safe, what is not. When it's not at a safe level, you have these radon mitigation systems, and there's really not much to them. It's like a pipe that goes out either from your basement, through your garage, out the roof of your house to take all of the gases, the radon gases, not all, but most, to make it safe and get it out of your house. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. You found it useful and informative of all about our basements here, the pros and cons of them. Now you may be noticing my shirt. Just so you know, people always ask, I sell houses so my dog can live a better life. That's what my shirt says. So anyways, if you have any real estate related questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always here to help. I'd love to connect with you, but as always, make it a great day.